Magic fans, this is Cheshire coming at you with a really cool combo deck for Standard. This is actually a pretty cheap deck. It's under 150 USD for a Revel in Riches Brass's Bounty combo deck. So let's check it out, let's see how it is, how it plays. Let's go through a couple of the different cards and you'll find everything in a link down below. Let's get to it. So firstly, how does the deck play? Well, this is more of a fun, casual, standard, legal combo deck. Well, sort of combo, more a synergy. It's definitely a combo deck of sorts, just not as powerful as you're probably used to. It probably won't win you any major events, but it's a fun deck to play, at least at your Friday Night Magic or your store championship. Revel in Riches is the main win condition here. Oh, it's pretty much the only win condition, really. So that can be a little bit fragile, but this is just a test version, and I'm sure that you can work out something maybe a little bit better, like putting in some Marionette Masters to drain your opponent out as well, just as a secondary backup win condition. Anyway, so this allows you to win straight up as long as you have 10 or more treasures in play, whilst you have Revel in play at the start of your upkeep. How do we do this? Well, that's a really good thing that we'll definitely go through. The first card that I want to bring up is this one right here, the Kite Sail Freebooter. This is 1 black and 1 colors for a creature human pirate with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you get to look at your opponent's hand and take any non-land, non-creature card and exile it until the freebooter leaves play. Now, the freebooter itself is a bit fragile. It can die, but the main thing you're going to be using this for is to get around a whole heap of different things, such as counter spells and things like that. You can either soak it up with this card or take it out of your opponent's hand and make sure those enchantments actually hit the board. Speaking of fun cards, we do have Treasure Map. So Treasure Map is an artifact for 2, and it has 1 tap and scry 1. Then you get to put a landmark counter on Treasure Map. If Treasure Map has 3 or more landmark counters on it, it flips over and transforms into Treasure Cove, which means it generates 3 treasures for you, and then you can tap and sacrifice a treasure card to draw a card. So this is both an accelerant for you to win the game, and also in a tough spot can draw you cards. So it can be extremely useful. Next up, we have a trio of Vraska's Contempt, Bontu's Last Reckoning, and Fatal Push. These are your main removal cards. Fatal Push, of course, is really good with your treasures because you can pop a treasure, and for 1 black you can kill something of a converted mana cost of 4 or less. Otherwise, you're just killing a weenie at 2 or less. That's fine because converted mana cost 2 or less at the moment seems to be all the rage among merfolk. You just have to watch out for the merfolks because they have a lot of stuff that's actually hexproof, which is fine. We can tailor our sideboard for that, so we don't really need to worry too much. We do have Bontu's Last Reckoning, although be careful when playing this card. The most value you'll get is when you have Revel in Riches in play, because when you destroy an opponent's creature or kill it and it goes to the graveyard, you get to generate a treasure token. The main thing here is, though, that it will tap down all of your lands. 3 isn't too bad, but when you're looking down your entire turn to do it, that's a little bit scary. I wish that this actually was an instant. Now, this does have some replacements. There is a new instant card that gives all creatures -2/-2, but that's just not big enough in the current environment to make sure you're actually killing things. You might just weaken stuff for a turn, and that could be a big problem. Vraska's Contempt, however, that's here so that we can exile gods. Yeah, those things are really hard to kill. We do have other ways as well, such as Tezzeret. This allows us to exile a creature or a planeswalker, and then you gain 2 life. The next card we have is our combo card. This is what makes the deck win. Revel in Riches is an enchantment for 4 colors and 1 black. It is a rare, of course. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice, add a mana of any color to your mana pool. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more treasures, you straight up win the game. I can't stress enough how really cool this card is. I mean, alternate win conditions have always been cool, but this just seems to be the coolest. Speaking of cool new additions to this particular deck, we do have Brass's Bounty. Apparently Brass has been sailing the 7 seas in search for lots of booty, and she certainly seems to have found it. This is 6 colors and 1 red. That's nothing to sneeze at for a sorcery. So it is quite expensive, but once you read the card, you'll actually realize why. For each land you control, create a colorless treasure token with, well, we already know the rest of that. But if you're playing this on turn 7 or turn 8 or turn 9 or turn 10, I mean possibly even before I've done that, you're going to generate a whole heap of treasure tokens. So this should be able to help you almost single-handedly win the game straight outright, which is great. Next up, Censor and Supreme Will. These are your counter spells. Now, Censor of course is great in the early game when we've got really not much to do because a lot of our cards are pretty expensive. But this can be used as a tempo card to offset our opponent if we can. Otherwise, we can always cycle it to draw a card. Supreme Will is much the same. So Supreme Will is 1 blue and 2 colors, and you get to choose one. So it is a modal instant. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3, or look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So both of them can either be a pseudo counter or drawing cards. We have Sunbird's Invocation. Now we're running 2 of these mostly for the lols, but because they're actually pretty good as well. I mean, if you play a Brass's Bounty, you can definitely get some good value off that. So this is an enchantment, again for 5 colorless and 1 red. Whenever you cast a spell from your hand, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. So this means your other invocation as well, but this especially means your Brass's Bounty. So you can single-handedly win a game off just dropping this, and then the next turn Brass's Bounty into a 7-cost Brass's Bounty for free, which is lovely. You may cast a card revealed this way with a converted mana cost of X or less without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So exactly what it's saying, you're going to go through and get yourself with a converted mana cost of X or less. We have some mid-range stuff in here, or I should say mid-cost stuff, so we should be fine to pick up other cards that we can cast with it. But for what it does, it's just pretty amazing for getting extra cards to cast. Last and not least, certainly not least, the thing making a massive splash in Standard this season has been Search for Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin. So, at the beginning of your upkeep, and this is for 1 blue and 1 colorless legendary enchantment, you get to look at the top card of your library, and then you may choose to chuck it into your graveyard. And if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may transform Search for Azcanta. It transforms into Azcanta, the Sunken Ruin. Tap, adds 1 blue, that's pretty standard. I mean, it's a legendary land, provides a blue, that's fine. But this is where it gets great. 1 blue and 2 colors, and tap it. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a non-creature, non-land card from among them, and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom. Now, the thing to remember is that you're playing 4 creatures and that's it. Everything else is spells and planeswalkers. This hits a lot of your deck. A good, what, 88% of your deck can be hit by this? So that's nothing to sneeze at either. That is really good value. Alright, so time for the final deck list. So we have 4 Kitesail Freebooters. We have 2 Tezzeret the Schemer. We have 3 Treasure Map. We have 2 Bontu's Last Reckoning. We have 4 Fatal Push, 2 Vraska's Contempt, 3 Brass's Bounty, 3 Censor, 4 Depths of Desire because they create treasure tokens and bounce a creature. Surprise, surprise. Sunbird's Invocation times 2, 2 Search for Azcanta, 2 Revel in Riches, 3 Supreme Will. For lands, we're running 10 Island, 4 Drowned Catacomb, 4 Dragon Skull Summit, 3 Mountain, and 3 Swamp. So, online, this is 45 tickets approximately at the time of this recording. And if you want to buy it in paper, it's $141 US. So it's under our $150 USD budget that we always try and stick with. Well, that's it from me. I hope you really enjoyed that. If you've got any comments, you think you can make this deck better, by all means, post it down in the comments for everyone to read. And be excellent to each other. Just remember, keep cracking packs, not for value, but for drafting.